On July 20th, 2025, the entertainment world was shaken by a tragedy that no one could have foreseen. Malcolm Jamal Warner, the beloved actor who had once been introduced into millions of American households as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, lost his life in a drowning accident on a Costa Rican beach. He was only 54 years old. For many, Warner was more than a television actor. He had become a familiar face during one of the most influential eras of television, a figure whose on-screen journey mirrored the awkwardness, humor, and heart of growing up. Yet as news of his death spread, the shock deepened when a private archive he had carefully preserved was opened after his funeral. Inside were letters, photographs, music notes, and personal artifacts that painted an entirely different picture of the man the world thought it knew. What emerged was not scandal or controversy, but a moving portrait of an artist who lived deliberately, loved deeply, and guarded his personal world with extraordinary care. His story, when fully told, is not only about the fame he achieved, but about the balance he maintained between being America's eldest son and being Malcolm, a man who never let the spotlight consume him. Malcolm Jamal Warner's life began in Jersey City, New Jersey, on August 18, 1970. He was born at a time of cultural and political upheaval in the United States, and even his name reflected the forces shaping the era. His mother, Pamela, chose Malcolm in honor of Malcolm X, the powerful civil rights leader who symbolized courage and change, and Jamal in admiration of Ahmad Jamal, the jazz pianist whose music embodied elegance and innovation. These names were not merely labels. They were aspiration, hopes that her son would grow into a man who was both strong and artistic, both committed and expressive. Malcolm's parents divorced when he was young, and it was Pamela who took on the responsibility of raising him. She became his foundation, his manager, and his guiding voice. From an early age, she noticed that Malcolm possessed a rare fascination with performance. At just 7 or 8, he would stand before the mirror for hours, imitating television characters, memorizing their lines, and experimenting with facial expressions. Unlike other children, his games were not of playgrounds and sports, but of voices and gestures, the rehearsal of characters who lived in his imagination. Pamela recognized this passion and chose not to dismiss it as childish play. She enrolled him in acting classes and eventually placed him in New York's Professional Children's School, a training ground for young performers who needed an education that could balance academics with the demands of show business. By the age of 9, Malcolm was appearing in commercials and children's theater. He quickly learned the technical discipline of acting, how to control his gaze for the camera, how to project his voice, how to find rhythm in a line. These lessons, seemingly small at the time, would become the tools that set him apart when the opportunity of a lifetime arrived. That moment came in 1984, when NBC was casting for a new sitcom centered on an African-American family. The show would become The Cosby Show, and the role they were trying to fill was that of Theo Huxtable, the eldest son. More than 200 teenagers auditioned, but it was 13-year-old Malcolm who won the part. The decision would alter his life forever. Almost overnight, Warner became a household name. The Cosby Show was not just another sitcom. It became a cultural phenomenon, reshaping television by portraying a black family that was professional, loving, and aspirational at a time when such representation was rare. Malcolm's Theo was witty, sometimes awkward, always relatable. He embodied the struggles of adolescent school pressures, sibling rivalries, first romances with such authenticity that audiences felt they were watching a real boy grow up before their eyes. Very quickly, he was nicknamed America's eldest son. By 1986, Warner had earned an Emmy nomination, a remarkable achievement for a teenager. Yet with success came enormous pressure. While millions adored him, Malcolm still had to finish school, manage an exhausting filming schedule, and navigate the challenges of adolescence. In the unforgiving glare of fame, unlike many child actors who faltered under such intensity, Malcolm remained grounded, in a large part due to his mother's constant reminders. Don't let the spotlight blind you. Remember who you are and where you come from. Those words became his compass, Off-camera, he pursued music, another lifelong passion. He began learning the bass guitar and often spent his free time in jazz clubs, quietly observing seasoned musicians. While the world knew him as Theo, Malcolm was quietly cultivating another side of himself, one that would later grow into a parallel career as a musician. When The Cosby Show ended in 1992, Warner faced a challenge that has haunted many actors tied to a single role: escaping typecasting. Theo Huxtable had brought him fame, but it also threatened to confine him. Rather than retreat or cling to the image, Warner worked tirelessly to reinvent himself. In 1996, he starred alongside Eddie Griffin in the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie. The show ran for 4 seasons, proving his comedic timing and establishing that he could carry a project independent of his earlier fame. At the same time, Warner explored directing, sharpening his behind-the-camera skills and shaping his reputation as a thoughtful storyteller. The 2000s marked a further evolution. Warner deliberately pursued dramatic roles that showcased his range and depth, from Jeremiah to Read Between the Lines to Major Crimes. He steadily distanced himself from the boyish charm of Theo and stepped into more complex territory. He also poured his energy into music, forming his band Miles Long and releasing albums that combine jazz, funk, and spoken word. His dedication to music culminated in 2015 when, performing alongside Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway, he won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Performance. For Malcolm, the Grammy was not just an accolade. It was validation that he was more than a former child star. He was a legitimate artist across multiple disciplines. As Warner's career diversified, his personal life remained guarded, though, linked to actresses like Michelle Thomas, Karen Malina White, and Regina King. He never let tabloids dictate his story. Michelle Thomas, however, left the deepest mark. Their youthful romance during The Cosby Show grew into a lifelong bond. When Michelle passed away from cancer in 1998, Warner was at her side, later calling her an angel who walked among us. Years later, Warner quietly found lasting love. Around 2016, he married a lawyer from Connecticut, and in 2017, they welcomed a daughter. He revealed her birth with a simple photo captioned, "Peaceful Time." Beyond that, he shielded his family from the spotlight. For a man who had grown up in public, privacy was a form of protection. Still, shadows touched his legacy. The Bill Cosby scandal of the mid-2010s stained the memory of The Cosby Show. Though uninvolved, Warner admitted the pain of association, but chose not to dwell on it. Instead, he focused on his work. His role as Dr. A.J. Austin in The Resident from 2018 proved he could reinvent himself, showing audiences a complex, brilliant character far removed from Theo Huxtable. Tragedy struck in 2025. While vacationing in Costa Rica, Warner was caught in a rip current. His daughter was rescued, but Warner could not be revived. His sudden death stunned Hollywood and fans worldwide. After his funeral, his private archive was revealed, sparking conspiracy theories that it might contain secrets about the Cosby years. But the truth was far more personal. Inside were love letters to his wife, bedtime notes for his daughter, and career mementos like concert tickets, music memorabilia, and old photographs. They painted the portrait of a man who valued authenticity, discipline, and love above fame. Looking back, Warner's legacy is striking. He acted in more than 30 television and film projects, directed, made music, and even won a Grammy. He reinvented himself repeatedly while staying true to his values: humility, loyalty, and integrity. In the end, Malcolm Jamal Warner's story is not defined only by Theo Huxtable, but by his refusal to be confined by that role. He was an actor, musician, husband, father, and above all, a man who lived quietly but meaningfully. His life reminds us to love deeply, protect what matters, and never lose ourselves to the spotlight. Malcolm Jamal Warner may be gone, but his life remains an enduring reminder that true legacy is not measured in fame or wealth, but in the integrity of how one chooses to live. Thanks for watching.